Mr. Balui to get me one because I've given lectures to the NPA staff at some stage after I retired regarding ballistics. So he wasn't around, so I got to speak to Mr. Simbini, is that so? Sebani, sorry. And he got me this book, Crime Scene Investigation. And when I did that, I did it within hearing earshot of Mr. Ngumalo and Advocate Mshololo. Do you confirm that, lady and gentlemen?
Yes, I do confirm. I do confirm that, my lord.
Mr.
Thank you.
Mshololo, you confirm? That I said this within earshot and within sight of you guys.
My lord, I did not hear the content of the conversation.
Okay, fine.
I saw my lord speaking to Advocate Sibani.
Yeah, just placing it on record. It's useless information.
Thank you, ma'am.
Just the impression some people make. Other with I, Muntu State, Lomolino Koluma Nobaloi. Okay, doctor, can you take the?
My lord, I'm sorry, my lord, I'm told there's still more literature that Advocate Sibanda has gathered.
Yeah, fine, because this is elementary. It's for.
Yes.
Because one students.
Yes. So
you make it available. Eh?
If it carries the blessing of my colleagues.
How can they refuse a judge informing himself about a case?
I think it's about 5 textbooks or so.
5?
How many? 5 textbooks.
Yeah, fine, no problem.
Okay.
Yeah, so the witness in.
Your name is
my name is Johannes Steenkamp.
Do you have any objection in taking the oath?
I do not.
Do you say that the evidence you are about to give you the truth, the whole truth, nothing else but the truth? If so, raise your right hand and say, so help me God.
So help me God.
The witness is sworn in.
English or Afrikaans, Mr. Dr. Steenkamp?
I beg your pardon?
Wel, u getuigen Afrikaans of Engels?
I'll do it in English.
Yes, want die hof is tweetalig en is ook mattig in Afrikaans.
Ek hoor sê.
Dank u. Okay, you can go on.
The court pleases, my lord, this witness is going to testify in respect of Exhibit L. Yes, Exhibit L forms part of the admissions.
The admissions?
Yes.
Okay. Is this the, yeah.
As per Exhibit F, the witness is also going to refer to Exhibit D, the photo album of Lieutenant Colonel Mhlahlo regarding the post-mortem photos.
Okay.
Yes. Dr. Steenkamp, just want to show you a document which has been marked Exhibit L. Is that your affidavit?
That is correct.
Exhibit L, ngempela ke kuyiyona affidavit yami.
Can you just read the contents of Exhibit L in the record? Firstly, just identify the document.
This is Death Register number 2076 of 2015. That's the GW7/15 form. And it's a report on a medical legal post-mortem examination. And then starting off with affidavit in terms of section 212.418 of Act 51 of 1977.
Just a minute to give the
Umbiko ke lona noma iregister ke mayelana nokushona in a number 2076-2014 GW715 post-mortem yona ke eyenzelwa khona ke eJemiston kanye futhi ke affidavit yenziwa phansi kwakhe ke section 212. Yes.
I, Dr. Johannes Steenkamp, qualifications MB, CHB, F4 Path, close brackets, attached to section Forensic Pathology Service Germiston, private bag X1221 Germiston, declare under oath in English as follows.
You can read the whole paragraph.
I am in the employ of the Gauteng Provincial Government as a principal specialist forensic pathology in Germiston.
Just a minute.
No, you can read. You can read.
Yes. Doctor, when did you acquire your first qualification?
My Lord, the first qualification was the MBCHB. That's in 1976, here in the University of Pretoria.
Ezoqala ke ifundo engayiphothula ke ekuyona MBCH kwakungo 1976 khona ke la ku University yase Pretoria.
And after acquiring your qualification, what was your career path like?
After I qualified, I was appointed to the district surgeon since 1979.
Emuva kokuthi ngayiphothula ke ifundo ngase ngisebenza kuyona ke i-district noma ngaya kuyona ke is-district surgeon kusukela ngaye 1979.
Where, Doctor? Where?
That was in Johannesburg.
Johannesburg.
And the department?
Of Health, Department of Health.
Kuyona ke i-department ika-health.
In 1983, I started specializing in forensic pathology.
Ngase ngiqala ke ngaye 1983 ukuthi ke ngispecialize ke kuyona i-forensic pathology.
And I achieved the qualification, the F4 Path, in 1988. F4 Path.
Ngase ngenza yona ke i-F4 Path, you said 1980?
Sorry, 1987.
1987.
And what does that stand for, Doctor? Just for
That's
record
a fellowship in forensic pathology. This is an exam that I do through the colleges of medicine of South Africa.
Lokhu kwakwenziwa ngawo ama-college azo-ke ezempilo noma awe-medicine e-South Africa yona-ke i-F4 Path.
Okay.
Yes.
I am in the employ of the, on the 20...
Just before you proceed, Doctor, and from that period, when you qualified as a forensic pathology specialist, more or less, how many postmortems did you carry out per year?
It's usually about 500 autopsies per year. My Lord.
Kuvamise ukuthi ke kusukela ngaso sikhathi ke ngaphothula ifundo ukuthi ke amafu ama-autopsy engiwenzayo ke noma ke ukuhlinzwa kwayo imizimba abe u-500.
Yes. Are you still in the service of the Department of Health?
I have retired in 2016, my Lord.
Ngase ngishiya ke umsebenzi ke noma ngaretire ngo-2016.
Is it correct that you were a principal specialist?
That is correct.
Kuyiqiniso ke ukuthi inhloko ke noma ke i-principal specialist.
Now, in that capacity, did you conduct any training?
We usually did training as part of our service delivery, and that's since 1983, where we taught students at the Wits University, also training like paramedics, police, law students, etc.
Ukusuka ngayo ke u1983 sibaqeqeshiwe ke abaningi sibaqeqeshela khona ke e-vets, ama-students, ama-paramedics, amaphoyisa.
And testifying in court, have you testified in court?
I have.
Nginikeziwe ke futhi nangobufakazi einkantolo.
Yes, which forums, which courts?
Usually
District courts, regional court, high courts?
High Court, District Court, regional courts, all of them, inquest courts.
Zonke ke inkantolo nje akukho inkantolo la benganikezi khona ke ngobufakazi eyesifunda e-regional court ema-high court nginikezile nje ngobufakazi.
Yes, thank you. You can proceed then with your affidavit.
On 28/10/2014, a body bearing the number 2076/2014 was pointed out and identified to me by Forensic Pathology Officer E. Mokoena of the Germiston Mortuary.
Just a minute. Is there a relevant photo that you can point out?
Yes, there's a
that indicate this?
photograph indicating the number, the toe tag on photo 148.
Sikhona ke isithombe noma aqale lana ke futhi ngo28 zika October 2014 kune umzimba noma isidumbu ke esinenamba ewu2076 engasikhonjiswa ke uyena oyi-forensic pathology officer uImukwena owasemakhazini eGermiston. Kunasikhona ke isithombe esitshengisa leyo number ke isithombe u148.
The court, please, my lord, we have requested that the photos of the post-mortem not be shown for the reasons that were canvassed when we were debating this aspects.
Ngishoshe siyayichazela ke inkantolo ukuthi isicelo besenziwe ke ukuthi izithombe lezi ze postmortem zingakhonjiswa khona lapha.
You mean they won't be beamed from
Yes,
the,
on the screen.
on the screen?
Yes,
Yeah.
but my colleagues have got copies of the
Yes.
post-mortem photos.
Kodwa abameli benu banazo banawo ke amakhophi alezi izithombe.
Yes, you may proceed, doctor.
I conducted a post-mortem examination on the said body and recorded my findings on attached form G77/15, which facts I ascertained through an examination which required skill in biology, anatomy and pathology.
Ngase ngenza ke yona ke i-postmortem noma ukuhlola ke kuloyo mzimba loyo ngase lokho engakuthola ke ngabhala phansi ke kwiform ewu-GW7 15 nokuthi futhi ke lokho ke ngakwenza ke ngokuthi noma lokho kudinga ukuthi ukwenzeke uma ke une skill ke kuyona i-biology, anatomy kanye futhi nayo i-pathology.
Yes, you can proceed to page 2, doctor, Roman figure 1. Then thereafter proceed to Roman figure 3.
To the Magistrate of Boksburg, I, Johannes Steenkamp, hereby certify that 1. I examined the body of an adult black male on 28/10/2014 at the Germiston mortuary beginning at 8 o'clock.
Mina ke lana ke noma lena ke iya kuyena ke uMagistrate waseBoksburg ukuthi mina uJohannes Steenkamp ngiyasho ke ukuthi ngase ngihlola ke umzimba ke wakhe umuntu wesilisa umuntu omnyama nge-28 zika October 2014 kona ke amakhaza aseGermiston ngaqala ngo-8.
Yes, you've already placed the contents of paragraph 2 on record. You can proceed to Roman figure 3.
The death occurred as informed on 26/10/2014.
Yes, indeed.
The chief post-mortem findings in this case were attached schedule of observations.
Isidumbuke noma ke ukufa lokhu ngendlela ke engatshelwa ngayo kwenzeka ke noma ukushona kwakhe kwaba nge-26 zika October 2014 futhi ke okona ke okwatholakala ukuthi kwakuyini imbangela ikhona ke kukhona ke iphepha ke elishoyo noma imininingwane echazayo lokho ihamba nawo lo mbiko.
You can proceed to page 3, doctor.
That is the schedule of observations. Under general, 1, Roman 1, height 1.77 meter, mass 80 kilogram, which I estimated, physique average, nutrition normal.
Lana ke uma nje ngendlela engambheka ngayo noma ngambona ngayo ukuthi ke ubude bakhe ke kwaku 1.77 meters is noma ke ubunzima bakhe ke ku 80 kg lokho ngaqagela nokuthi ke wayekangakanani ke emaphakathi nje nendawo ukondleka kwakhe ke kujwayelekile.
Roman 2, special identifying features, an adult male wearing a blood-stained T-shirt, a blood-stained vest, blue tracksuit pants, and white and blue underpants.
Lokho ke engingamchaza ngako ke ukuthi kwakuumuntu wesilisa omnyama ke owayefake i-t-shirt noma iskipa esimhlophe esafinegazi, i-vest emhlophe eyayinegazi, i-tracksuit elaliblue ngombala kanye futhi ke nama underwear white na blue.
Are there relevant photos in this regard, Doctor?
They are on photo 144,
Ithombe ke ehambisana naloko engikushoyo isithombe u144,
146,
u146,
147,
147,
148,
148,
149,
149,
and 150 to 154.
usuka ke kuyena 150 ukuyosho ke ku 154.
Can I continue?
Yes.
Bullet 1, the blue trousers are contained with blood-stained
Stained.
are stained with blood-stained fluid over the back. There is also a small 0.5 centimeter hole over the central aspect of the pants, just below the waistband. This does not correspond to any skin wound.
Ibhluka ke awayifakileke eli blue lona ke lali nalo ke igazi la ngasemuva kukhona futhi ke nembotshana encane u0.5 centimeters ngaphezulu njena ke kwibhluko lelo kodwa la ngasezantsi nje ngasemazantsi kodwa lokho ke akuhambelani ke noma ke akukhulumisani ke naliphi inxeba elikhona noma ukulimala okukhona emzimbeni.
Bullet 2, the underpants are blood-stained over the back.
Kwakunegazi ke kulona ibhluko lakhe ngasemuva.
Bullet 3, the white blood-stained T-shirt shows a 4 centimeter by 3 centimeter star-shaped hole over the central anterior chest region. That's over the front of the chest.
Yes.
Corresponding to wound 2 in paragraph 4.
Bese kuthi ke iskipa ke lesi awayesigqokile ke esimhlophe esasinegazi sikhombisa ke noma sitshengisa ke imbobo ke e4 cm by 3 cm uhlobo lwestar ngaphezulu la ngaphambili esubeni kodwa nje lana ke ngaphezulu futhi lolo ke lihambisana ke kanye nenxeba noma ke ukulimala kwesibili okukhona ku paragraph 4.
These are best seen in photograph 152 and 153.
Kuyizithombe ke u152 kanye no153 kukhona ke noma kuyabonakala lokho.
It also shows a 1 centimeter hole over the back corresponding to wound 3. That's also in paragraph 4.
Bese ikhombisa ke imbobo ke e1 cm ngasemuva yona ke ihambisana ke noma ke ikhulumisana naye nalo ke inxeba lesithathu nalokho ke ukuthola kuyena uparagraph 4.
The underlying vest, bullet 4, the underlying vest is blood-stained, showing a 3 centimeter by 2 centimeter rounded hole over the anterior chest region and a 1 centimeter defect over the posterior region. That's over the front and the back of the T-shirt.
Bese kuthi ke ivest le eyayigqoke ngaphansi ke eyayinegazi yona ke ikhombisa ke imbobo ke ewu3 cm by 2 cm la ngaphambili ke esifubeni kanye futhi nangasemuva.
And Doctor, can you just explain the term defect? What does that mean?
It's a hole. It's basically a hole.
Ukhuluma ke ukuthi kwakuyimbobo ke leyo.
Yes, and the relevant photos?
I think they are on 160 and 161. It's not very clear there.
Ithombe ke u160 no161 noma ke kungaqamile lapho.
Okay, Doctor, just look at photos 146 and 152 as well.
146 shows it,
Yabonakala ku146
as well as 152.
kanye naye ke u152.
Yes, you may proceed.
Then in brackets, the clothing were not required for any special investigation, was after discussion with the investigating officer and ballistic team present at the autopsy, close brackets.
Impahla noma ingubo ke awayigqokile kwakungekho sidingo ke noma sasingekho ke isidingo sokuthi ithathwe ke sithathele bona ke kona ukuphenya emuva kokukhulumisana ke kanye na nomphenyi nalabo abaphenyayo kanye futhi ke nalabo abasebenza ngeibhamu noma laba abama-ballistic ababe khona lapho nkathi ngenza lo msebenzi.
Paragraph 3, Roman 3, secondary post-mortem changes. The body had been refrigerated and is well preserved.
Umzimba lona ke wafakwa emakhazeni futhi ke wawugcineke kahle.
And then I continue to paragraph Roman 4, external appearance of the body and condition of the limbs. Then number 1, for 1, which is visible on photo 154, 159.
Kulezi ithombe ke u154 no159 kuloko ke engizokhuluma ngako ukuthi umzimba wawubukeka kanjani ke.
And I describe these as there are ECG stickers, that's electrocardiograph stickers, situated over the left anterior and right anterior chest walls, so that's the front of the chest, over the left clavicle, that's the left collarbone, and over the right anterior shoulder line, that's the line extending from the shoulder downwards.
Nokuthi ke kwakunamastika ke engiwabiza ngokuthi ke ama ECG amastika akhona ke ayelana kuhlangothi la ngasekudla kanye nalolo longasekunxeleke khona la esifubeni kanye futhi ke nalana ke kwi ehlombe kwihlangothi ke la ngase left kanye ke futhi nangase right la kulona ke ihlombe.
This indicates that there had been some resuscitative measures performed with an electrocardiograph being performed to check the condition of the heart.
Lokho kusho ke noma kuchaza ke ukuthi ke kukhona ke okwenziwa noma okwakuzanywa ke ukuthi ke bamagcinwe ke ephilile ke noma ephila.
And Doctor, where would the electrocardiograph stickers normally be used? In which setting?
That is usually during resuscitation.
La mastika ke amastika ke asetshenziswa uma ke uzama ukuthi umuntu umgcineke esaphila ke noma yes,
or for diagnostic procedure.
Noma ke uma kwenza lokho kubizwa ukuthi ukudiagnose.
Yes.
Then paragraph 4, number 2, and that is the important wound, and it is visible on photos 154 right through to 159.
Kule ithombe ke u154 kuyofica kuyena ke u159 lokulimala ke kubonakala kuona kulezo zithombe.
And I described it as situated over the right anterior chest wall, that's the right front of the chest.
Ngichaza ke ukuthi kulohlangothi la ngaphambili ke esifubeni kuhlangothi la ngakwesokudla.
1 centimeter to the right of the midline and 135 centimeter above the heel is a 3 centimeter by 1.5 centimeter oval-shaped lacerated wound. It's a torn, oval-shaped wound.
Lana ke kwakuyinqaba ke leli lalidabukile ke kodwa ke ngeshape yakhona ke li shape oval. Futhi lona ke uma elichaza li 1 cm kuhlangothi lo ngase right kanye futhi ke no 135 cm ngaphezulu nje kwaloko okubizwa ngokuthi i-heel futhi ke li 3 cm by 1.5 cm.
And then there is a semicircular abrasion situated over the superior and inferior aspects, that's now the wound that I mentioned, measuring 0.3, the upper part, and 0.5 centimeters below the lower one.
Linqaba-ke linguyena-ke umkhuzuko-ke ukuthi lalo u-0.3 ngaphezulu-ke kanye futhi libe u-0.5 centimeter-ke ngezansi.
Doctor, can you describe abrasion?
Abrasion is a damage to the superficial layer of the skin. In this case, I thought it was due to the muzzle of the firearm that had been used.
Lana-ke uma sithetha nge-abrasion noma sikhuluma nge-abrasion sikhuluma ngawo-ke umkhuzuko-ke iskin somuntu ngicabanga ukuthi lokho-ke kwenziwa-ke ilokho kubizwa ngokuthi i-muzzle yaso isibhamu.
The wound edges appear seared. That's a heat effect. That's burning.
Okay, that's it.
Situated just below the skin, blackened granular material consistent with gunshot residue are noted in the underlying soft tissue. So when I opened this wound and explored it, I noted this black granular material.
Ngathi uma-ke lenqaba-ke noma lokulimala lokhu sengikuvula-ke ngase ngibona lokhu-ke okumnyama okubuzwa ngokuthi i-granular-ke uma echaza lana ukuthi lokho kuhambisana-ke nayo-ke i-residue noma-ke impuphu-ke eyesibhamu.
And then in brackets, I came to a conclusion following the examination of this wound. I said this wound is consistent with a contact bullet entrance wound.
Ngase-ke uma sengikuphetha-ke lokho ngafinyelela-ke ukuthi inxeba noma ukulimala lokho-ke ukulimala-ke okungabangelwa-ke noma okuhambisana-ke nokungena kwenhlamvu.
And I say that due to the fact that when a muzzle is pressed against the skin, all the elements, that's the gas, the heat, the gunpowder, are driven into the skin.
Lokho ngikusho-ke uma ukuthi uma-ke isibhamu lesi-ke sicindezelwe noma sibekiwe-ke kwiskin somuntu konke-ke lokho kuhambisana nawo igesi ipowder yakhona-ke ukuthi konke lokho kuphumela-ke kusona iskin noma kuhlala kusona iskin somuntu.
So with a muzzle firmly against the skin, especially the gas will go below the skin and explode backwards towards the outside.
Uma-ke isibhamu lesi-ke sesicindezelwe-ke kuyena-ke umuntu noma kwiskin somuntu-ke ikakhulukazi-ke igesi ukuthi izongena-ke ibese futhi-ke iyaphuma-ke.
Resulting in this original big lacerated wound as I've described.
Bese-ke lokho-ke kubangela-ke lenxeba leli engikhulume ngalo-ke elikhulu-ke.
Doctor, when you say the gases explode backwards to the outside, what do you mean?
Away from the skin towards the muzzle or towards the firearm.
Engikushoyo-ke ukuthi le gesi engikhuluma ngayo-ke uma isithatshile-ke iskin yasiphinde yabuyela futhi ibuyela kuyona-ke kusona isibhamu noma-ke i-muzzle leyo yesibhamu.
And the gunshot residue, what will that have resulted from?
That's from a firearm, the residue that was ignited.
Uma ngikhuluma ngayo-ke i-gunshot residue noma-ke yona-ke impuphu iphuma kusona-ke isibhamu uma ngabe sesiqhuma.
In the relevant photos, Doctor?
That is 154 to 159.
Iy'thombe-ke ey'hambisana noma ey'tshengisa khona-ke lokho u-154 kuyofika kuyena-ke u-159.
Yes, you may proceed.
Then I've got a heading, wound track. The track of this wound passes downwards, backwards, from front to back, downwards, and laterally away from the midline of the body.
Manje-ke indlela-ke ngokulimala noma lenxeba okuhambe ngayo ukuthi-ke lindlula-ke liye phansi bese liya ngasemuva-ke bese lidlula-ke kuwona-ke ulayini lona-ke womzimba noma la emzimbeni.
Doctor, if we can ask you just to demonstrate that.
Over the front of the chest, to the right,
right,
over the breastbone,
lidluleke kwithambo Yebo, sorry.
1 centimeter to the right of the midline over the breastbone, around the level of rib 3.
Lana ke ku 1 centimeter futhi ke kuyona ke i-level yakhe u-rib 3.
Yes, and the wound passing downwards, backwards, and laterally. If you
Yes.
can maybe just demonstrate it just quickly.
It goes down. I think
Yes.
there is a photograph.
Ngicabanga ukuthi sikhona ke isithombe.
Yes, we will get to that. If you can maybe just quickly just show
On my
your
body. Oh,
yes.
okay. I've got my pen here indicating the firearm, and it would be roughly in a direction like this.
Lizongena kanjena ke ngalendlela akhombisa ngayo.
Yes.
From front to back
Ngaphambili ukuya ngasemuva.
and away from the midline of the body.
Bese lingathi liyahamba ke liyasuka ke kuloko kubizwa ngokuthi i-midline yomzimba.
Yes.
Sorry, from my understanding, what is the angle, as you say, goes down? The angle.
It's an acute angle.
It's an acute angle.
I-angle ebizwa ngokuthi ke asiyona ke engqo noma ke i-acute.
Along the wound track, then first bullet, it perforates the sternum on the right at the level of rib 3. The sternum is the breastbone at the level of rib 3.
And perforate, so can you just explain the term perforate?
It passes through. It makes a hole through it.
Ibisingena ke lana noma ingena ke kuyona ke noma ke ithambo layo ke i-rib lena bese ngishilo ke ukuthi u-rib 3.
Showing blackening of the outer aspect, and that's still consistent with the bullet contact wound, the gunshot residue.
Lokho kusahambelana nako ke noma ke ukungena kwayo ke inhlamvu ngoba lana ibonakalisa noma iveza ke indawo ke ejika noma ibe mnyama.
And then it also shows, as well as inverted bone fragments over the inner aspect of this bone. So little fragments of bone are driven inside the body, and this confirms a entrance wound.
Lamathambo ke abe esengena ke lana ke ungathi wona ke asenako ke ukuphuka ke manje abe esengena ngaphakathi ke lokho ekuyinkomba ke impela yayo inhlamvu eyangena noma ukushaywa inhlamvu.
This perforation, or the perforation, measures 1 centimeter in diameter, enlarging towards the inner aspect of the sternum where inverted bone fragments are noted.
Bese kuthi lokungena kwayo ke inhlamvu uma kukalwa ke noma kumetwa ke kutholakala u1 centimeter kuyona ke oya ngaphakathi ke emzimbeni kusona ke isternum noma lokho okubizwa ngokuthi ke ithambo layo i-rib la ekwatholakala khona ke futhi ukuphuka kwawo amathambo.
It's not clear, but it's around photo number 173.
Kusona ke isithombe u173 akucacileke kodwa isona isithombe ungabonakala kusona.
And then the next bullet, it lacerates the pericardial sac, that's the heart sac, leaving a 2 by 1 centimeter irregular laceration.
Just simplify that. Can you just simplify this?
Yes, and what is an irregular laceration?
Where there?
It lacerates. Can you just simplify?
It tears.
Okay.
Laceration is a torn wound.
Yase ke idabula ke khona ke la ngaphakathi kuyona ke inhliziyo yashiya khona ke ukudabuka ke oku 2 cm by 1 cm.
Black granular material, as well as small fragments of bone, are noted surrounding this defect in the anterior mediastinum. The anterior mediastinum is the front part where the heart is located.
Lana ke ku front ila ngaphambili ke la inhliziyo ingakhona. You say, what did it do there? Where are you?
Mediastinum.
Okay, yes. What did it do there?
No, that's just the black granular.
Okay. Iloko okumnyama ke okwasala ke ngasemuva kokuthi ingenile.
And the relevant photos?
It's 176. And and 177.
ithombe ke ezikhulumisana naloko u176 kanye naye u177.
And one can see the heart sac just pushed up. It's not very clear on those photos.
nenhliziyo ke lena ke ekhuphukile ke kodwa ke aqhamile kulezo ithombe lezo.
And this finding in this bullet, is it indicative of anything?
The black granular material,
Yes.
it's indicative of a contact bullet wound. It's still the gunpowder that's driven into this wound.
Lokhu ke ukusho ke ukushaywa yona ke inhlamvu kanye futhi ke nayo ipowder lena yesibhamu eyangena ngaphakathi.
And then the next bullet, it lacerates the heart, resulting a 3 centimeter by 1 centimeter irregular laceration, that's a tear, extending from the anterior wall, that's the front wall of the right ventricle, that's the right chamber of the heart that pushes the blood towards the lungs.
Just a moment. Kwasokutholakala ukuthi ke yase idabula yona ke inhliziyo lokho okwaholela ke kulo kudabuka ke oku 3 cm by 1 cm ukusuka ke la ngaphambili ke noma kulo hlangothi ongaphambili lwaso isifuba. Yes.
We still with this wound, partially lacerating the right coronary artery. That's the artery that supplies the heart with muscles. You get two, one on the left, one on the right. And this is the right coronary artery.
Yase idabula ke la khona ke ekunikeza khona ke noma ekuphamba khona ke kwinhliziyo ama muscle uthola eyanga ku left neyase right ilena ke yadabula eya ku right.
And this laceration that I'm talking about also extends into the right atrium. That's the antechamber to the right ventricle.
Yase idabula nayo ke lona ke atri eya ngaku right.
Blood from the body accumulates in the right atrium and goes to the heart, right side of the heart where it's pumped to the lungs.
Bese kuthi ke ukuhamba kwegazi ke noma igazi ke emzimbeni usebenza kulona ke uhlangothi lwangako right bese uyakhona ke emzimbeni noma kuyona inhliziyo.
And then I'm still doing the wound track. It then bruises the upper lobe of the right lung, bruises or contusing.
Bese futhi ke idabula ke noma ke ihuzula ke la ngaphezulu ke noma lokho okubuza ukuthi yilobe yaso isiphunga sangako right.
What is an upper lobe?
Upper lobe, the right lung is consisting of 3 lobes, upper, a middle and a lower lobe, and I'm talking about the upper part.
Lana ke uzothola ke ukuthi ke isiphunga ke lesi sinama lena ke engaphansi engiphakathi nendawo nephezulu lana sikhuluma ngalena ke engaphezulu lobe.
And then it also perforates the lower lobe of the right lung, leaving a 5 centimeter by 3 centimeter irregular perforating hemorrhagic lacerated wound.
Bese kuthi ke ingena ke kulobe ke lena engasezantsi yaso isiphunga sangako right ibisishiya ke u5 cm by 3 cm ongena noma ke okhoza ke ukopha noma ke ukuphuma kwegazi kulona ke inxeba lelo elidabukile.
And just explain hemorrhaging in simple terms, doctor.
That's bleeding into the soft tissues of the lung.
Hemorrhage ke ukopha ke kuona ke ama soft tissue aso isiphunga.
And then the second last bullet, it perforates the 9th intercostal space on the right posteriorly. That's at the right of the back, inside of the chest, at the back, leaving a 2 centimeter by 1 centimeter hemorrhagic perforating lacerated wound, noted in photos 182 and 183.
Can you just explain that part?
Which one?
The one just read.
The 9th intercostal space is the space between the 2 ribs situated on the right.
Lana ke uma ekhuluma ke ngayo ke in 9th space okhuluma ke ngama ribs amabili ke ahlukile. Yes. Angako right.
Okay.
ukuthi yase ingena ke leyo nhlamvu lapho ke kuleso space leso yashiya ke lo 2 cm by 1 cm la ekwakunokopha noma ukuphuma kwegazi khona ke eyangena khona yase ishiya ke la lokwakulimala la eyadabula khona.
Continuing with the wound track, it is then joined to wound number 3,
yase ke ihlanganiswa ke noma kwase kuhlanganiswa ke nayo ke naye ke wound 3.
which
Just
is
explain, sorry, when you mean wound number 3.
that is paragraph 4, number 3.
Sikhuluma ngaye ke uparagraph 4 number 3.
Which is an external wound over the back,
okuyinqaba ke evila ngasemuva ke.
and I described this wound. And let me show you the picture. Would be, I think, 162, the best picture.
Esona ke sithombe ongasibona ke u162.
And I described it as a 1,3 by 0,7 oval-shaped lacerated wound, again torn edges, situated over the right posterior chest. That's the back of the chest.
Then mangichaza ke nanjengo 1.3 cm by 0.7 cm elila ngasemuva ke elidabukile kuhlangothi la ngaku right.
4,5 centimeter to the right of the midline and 1 to 6 centimeter above the heel.
Bese kuthi liba ke u4.5 cm kuhlangothi ke la ngaku right noma lokusukudla ke kanye futhi no 1 to 6 cm ngaphezulu nje kwalokwachaza nanjenge heel.
And then there's a diagram where I indicated the wounds, wound 1 and 2, the entrance and the exit wound, as well as the wound track.
Usikhona ikhona ke ne diagram noma ke umdwebo ke la engitshengisa khona ke amanqaba lawo la inhlamvu yangena khona nala futhi ke eyaphuma khona ukuhamba nje kwayo.
And just, Doctor, if you can just maybe in terms of the entrance wound, if you say wound 2, can you just maybe for record purposes, what do you mean?
Wound 2 is paragraph 4, number 2. Paragraph 4, paragraph Roman 4, 2.
Wound 2 yana ke paragraph 4 2.
And wound 3?
That will also be paragraph 4, number 3.
Bese kuthi u3 ke yana ke paragraph 4 number 3.
Then wound 2 to 3? Which paragraphs will you be referring to?
It's still Roman 4, paragraph 4.
Msakhuluma ngaye ke paragraph 4
and 2
kanye no 2
and 3 under paragraph 4.
kanye no 3 ngaphansi kwakhe ke paragraph 4 uma sengikhuluma ke ngalokulimala.
Yes, you may proceed, Doctor.
Then I go to this systematic examination, head and neck, Roman 5, scalp, no scalp contusions, that's bruises, are noted, the skull is intact.
Uma sesiya ke noma indlela nje ke engambheka noma ngambuka ngayo ke ekhanda ke futhi ke nentamo ke noma ke iscalp akukho ke kulimala kwabonakala ke khona lapho kanye futhi neskull naso ke sasise ngendlela.
Roman 6, intracranial contents, the brain, membranes surrounding the brain, and blood vessels show no pathological changes, and the brain mass is 1490.
Bese kuthi ke lana ke noma ke ibrain lena ke kanye futhi naloko ke okungaphakathi kuyona ke akuzange kutholakala noma kubonakale ke ukuthi kwakukhona ke ushintsho olalukhona kanye futhi ke isisindo ke noma imass yayo ke ingqondo noma ibrain yakhona kwaku 1490 gram.
Then Roman 7, orbital, nasal and oral cavities, that's the eyes, nose and ears, those cavities are intact.
Ukuthi indlebe amehlo amakhala kwaku sengendlela kusahlangene.
Roman 8, mouth, tongue and mouth, tongue and pharynx, no pathological changes, that's the mouth, tongue and throat.
Ukuthi ke umlomo ke ulimi ke kanye futhi ke nalana ke emqaleni nala khona ke kwangekho ukushintsha.
Number 9, Roman 9, neck structures, hyoid bone and laryngeal cartilages, those are the small bones here in the throat area, are intact.
Lamathambo ke amancane akhona ke lana emqaleni nawo ke ayesahlangene.
Larynx is the part behind that, below the two.
Nalana ke ilarynx lena ke engasemuva ke kulo enzansi izimbini engiqeda uzisho.
Thyroid gland, that's the gland in the neck.
Kanye nama thyroid glands lana ke ala entanyeni.
The blood vessels are intact.
Kanye futhi ke nama vessels alo igazi okusahlangene.
Soft tissues of the neck, no hemorrhages are present.
Kanye ke nalana ke kulo kokubiza ngokuthi ke ama tissue athambileke nama asoft la entanyeni kwakungekho ukopha noma ukuphuma kwegazi okwatholakala lapho.
Then Roman 10, thoracic cage and diaphragm. The right chest cavity contains 1,700 milliliter of free and clotted blood, and that's with reference to the injuries to the heart and the wound tract.
Bese kuthi ke ukutholakala noma ubhekeka kwawo ke umzimba isifuba ke kuhlangothi la ngaku right kwatholakala ke 1700 mm wala ukuhlangene noma kuhlezi ndawonye noma lokho kubizwa ukuthi iclot ke yalo igazi lokho khuluma ngako ke ukulimala lokho awakuthola.
Number 11.
Just before we proceed, Doctor, the fact that the chest cavity contains 1,700 milliliters of blood, what is that indicative of?
That's blood loss, internal blood loss from the heart as well as the lung in that area that resulted in this blood flowing into the chest cavity, resulting in the left lung collapsing.
Lokhu bekuyimbangela ke yegazi ke noma ukopha kwakhe ke owaphela ngaphakathi ke lelo gazi labe seliyo limaza ke isiphunga ke sangaku left ukuthi kwakulela igazi laliniki ilalingaphakathi kuyena eli 1700 milliliters.
In simple layman's terms, what does that mean? The internal blood loss, what does that mean?
The blood is, the person is bleeding into a body cavity. Like into the chest cavity, he's bleeding from a source, in this case the heart and the lung, and this blood is flowing into the chest cavity.
Ukuthi lo muntu ke igazi ke kuphuma igazi ke kodwa leli gazi ke eliphumayo ke akulona liphuma kuyona inhliziyo kanye nesiphunga ke kodwa aliphumeli ngaphandle ke kodwa ke liphumela kuloko okubizwa ngokuthi i-chest cavity.
And when we say blood loss, that's technically speaking outside the body because it's not in the blood vessels where it should be. So
sikhuluma ke ngaphandle ke komzimba ngoba akukho kuma blood vessels la ekufanele ukuthi likhona.
So although it's inside the body, it's not inside the blood vessels, and that is possibly the mechanism or how this person died.
No manjena ke kungaphakathi ke noma ophela ngaphakathi ke emzimbeni kodwa ke akusikona la ekufanele ukuthi ukhona ke mhlambe ke yilokho ke okwaba imbangela ke yokuthi aze abe lo muntu uyashona.
Yes, may I proceed?
The mediastinum and esophagus, that's the gullet, and the front part, that's the area below the breastbone.
Lana ke sikhuluma ke la ngezansi njena ke kwethambo leli ke lala esifubeni.
And these were normal.
Lokho ke kwakusehlangene kwangena ushintsho lakhona lapho.
Roman 12, trachea and bronchi. The trachea and bronchi contain a small amount of blood-stained fluid. Trachea, the windpipe, and the small airways contain a small amount of blood-stained fluid.
Abo pipe ke lana ke bala ngaphambili ke noma bomzimba ke kwakhona nje igazi elincane elalikhona lapho,
probably due to the injury of the left lung.
Ngoba lokho
injury of the right lung.
Lokho kungabangelwa ke ukulimala kwesiphunga ke lesi sangabo right.
And the fact that the trachea and bronchi contain a small amount of blood-stained fluid, is this indicative of anything?
It's possible that the person could still have breathed, moving this blood-stained fluid upwards into the airways.
Ukuthi ke kwakunaleli gazi ke lalikhona ke noma ifluid leyo ke eyayinegazi ukuthi wayesaphefumula ke ukuthi lokho bese ke kuyakhuphuka ke kubangela ukuthi lelo gazi libe noma aphefumulele phezulu ngalo.
Then Roman 13, pleurae and lungs, that's the covering of the heart and the lungs. The right lung is pale and partially collapsed, that's due to the injury.
Lana ke masikhuluma ngalo ke iphunga ke noma lokho okombesa kona ke inhliziyo kanye nephunga ke kwatholakala ke ukuthi isiphunga ke sangaku right ukuthi nje usushintshile ke umbala kwaye futhi ke collapsile lokho kungabangelwa ke ukona ke ukulimala.
And the left lung is congested on section. The blood vessels there are still a bit full of blood.
Nokuthi ke ama vessels ke kusona ke isiphunga sangaku left ukuthi ke ayesa gwele igazi noma kwakunegazi eliningi.
Doctor, the fact that the right lung was pale, is that indicative of anything?
Well, the lung was injured, so it's blood loss basically.
Lana ke ukuthi ke ilanga noma ke isiphunga ke lesangaku right ukuthi sasishintshe nombala ke lokho khuluma ke ngokuthi nje ukuthi kwase igazi ke leli elaliselincane.
The mass of the right lung was 300 and the mass of the left lung was 510 grams.
Uma usukala ke amalanga lana omabili ke elaku right kwaku 300 gram bese kuthi elaku left kube 510 gram.
Then the heart and the pericardium, also see paragraph 4 for the injuries.
Bese kuthi ke inhliziyo ke kanye nayo ke pericardium ukuthi ke bheka ke kuyena ke uparagraph 4 la ikutshela khona ke ngokulimala.
The pericardial sac contains less than 50 milliliter of blood. Apart from the injuries mentioned, the rest of the heart was normal.
Bese kuthi yona ke isikhoma ke lesi noma ke ipericardial sac yona ke inegazi noma yayinegazi ke elingaphansi noma elincane nje kuno 50 ml walo igazi ngaphandle ke kokulimala inhliziyo yona ke obuningi bayo ke iyayise normal.
The heart mass I weighed it as 400 gram.
Bese kuthi mangikala yona ke inhliziyo ngathola u400 gram.
Paragraph 15, Roman 15, the large blood vessels were intact.
Nokuthi ke ama blood vessels ke la amakhulu ke wona ke ayesahlangene.
And then the next heading is the abdomen, that's the stomach.
Bese ngikhuluma ngaso ke isisu.
16, the peritoneal cavity, that's the cavity in which all the organs are housed in the stomach, was normal.
Ukuthi ke la konke ekuhlala khona ke esuswini nako ke kwaku njengenjwayelo.
Then 17, the stomach and contents. The stomach contains 500 milliliter of partially digested food material in which rice, vegetable matter and fragments of meat can still be identified.
Bese kuthi ke isisu kanye nalokho ke okungaphakathi kusona ke ukuthi ke isisu sasino 500 ml wokudla ke wokudla ke okwakungaphakathi kusona la ekwakwazi ke ukuthi kubonakale khona ke irice ama vegetable kanye futhi ke nokuncane kwenyama ukwazi ukuthi ungakubona.
Then 18, the intestines and mesentery, the bowel and mesentery are pale, again indicating the blood loss.
Bese kuthi ke uma ukhuluma lana ke ngalokho okungaphakathi ke kanye nama mesentery ukuthi ke yona ke ibowel kanye nama mesentery ukuthi ke nawo ke aseshintshe umbala lokho ke kukhuluma ngokuthi ke waluza igazi.
Then Roman 19, liver, gallbladder, biliary passages. The liver is pale, again indicating blood loss.
Bese kutholakala ukuthi nayo ke iliver yakhe ke nayo ukuthi ishintshe umbala naloko khuluma ke ngokuthi ke walahlekelwa igazi.
The gallbladder contains bile and the bile ducts are patent.
Kwase kutholakala futhi ke ukuthi ke yayikhona ke ninyongo awayenayo.
The liver mass was 1540, which is normal.
Kanye futhi ke imass yayo ke iliver yakhe kwaku 1540 ejwayelekile.
Paragraph 20, the pancreas is pale.
What is the pancreas?
Pancreas is the organ, one of the internal organs next to the liver and the stomach.
Ukuthi konke ke lokho okutholakala ngaphakathi ke duze kwayo iliver kanye nesisu ke ukuthi nayo ke kwakushintshe umbala.
The fact that the pancreas was pale, is it indicative of anything?
Again, blood loss.
nalokho ke kusho noma khuluma ke ngokuthi ke walahlekelwa igazi
And the pale liver?
The same.
kanye ke nokuthi liver yakhe ke nayo yayishintsha umbala nalokho kusho ukuthi walahlekelwa igazi.
Paragraph 21, the spleen. The capsule of the spleen is wrinkled. This again is an indication of blood loss.
And which part of that?
The what? The spleen.
Yes.
The spleen, there's a capsule surrounding the spleen, and this wrinkled is like shriveled and wrinkled, indicating blood loss.
Lana ke lokubizwa ngokuthi ke ispleen ukuthi wakune capsule ke yona ke eyatholakala ke ukuthi ayihlezi ngendlela yayo ke nokuthi uma ngayichaza ukuthi yayishwabene.
And the fact that the spleen was wrinkled, is it indicative of anything?
Blood loss.
Naloko kuchaza futhi ke ukulahleka kwegazi.
The adrenal glands are normal. The kidneys are pale, again indicating blood loss.
Nalapho kutholakala khona ukuthi ima-kidney akhe noma izinso zakhe ke nazo ke zashintshe umbala okuchazayo ukuthi ukulahleka kwegazi.
14, the urinary bladder and urethra contains 100 milliliter of clear urine.
Nokuthi ke lana ke kuma urinary lana asebenzisa khona ke uma eya ngasese ke kwatholakala ke urine eclear 100 milliliter.
The pelvic walls and genital organs were normal.
Futhi ke nanga ukuthi nakumzimba wakhe ke ola ngenzansi ke ukuthi watholakala ke ukuthi naye unormal.
And the spine and the spinal cord were intact, and the cord was not examined.
Nokuthi ke la ngasemuva ke emhlane ke kanye nespinal cord ke kwatholakala khona ke ukuthi ke nako ke kuhlangene nokuthi ke ispinal cord ke asizange sihlolwe.
And then I took some specimens for DNA, blood swabs from the fingernails for DNA with a seal number and evidence band, and I handed to SFOE Mokoena.
Kukhona ke nobufakazi ke noma kokubizwa ngokuthi ama specimen engakuthatha ke ukuthi kuhambe kuyohlolwa kwakuyigazi ke kanye futhi ke nobufakazi ke noma ama swab athathwa ke lana einzipheni zakhe kuyobhekwa ke iDNA kwase kune serial number kune evidence bag ekhona ke lapho lokho nganikezela ke noma ngangidlulisa kuyena uSFOE Mokoena.
Additional observations. The autopsy was attended by the investigating officer, A.S. Mutwedi from the Provincial Investigating Unit, Warrant Officer T.T. Mshlamvu from the Provincial Task Team, Mshalo from the Captain Mangena from Ballistics, and Lieutenant Makati from Ballistics, as well as Warrant Officer Ntini from Ballistics.
Ababekhona ke nkathi ngangenza wona ke lo msebenzi ke ukuthi ngihlinzeke umzimba lowo ngibheke noma ngenza uphenyo lwami kwakuyena Warrant Officer A.S. Muntwedi owase Provincial Investigating Unit, Warrant Officer T.T. Mhlahlo naye ke uwe Provincial Task Team, uCaptain Mangena obuya kuma Ballistics kanye naye ke uLieutenant Makati naye ke owama Ballistics kanye no Warrant Officer Ntini owama Ballistics.
According to the history, the deceased was shot in his home. Following this, he was taken to a hospital where he was certified as dead. No treatment was given in hospital.
Ngokomlando ke noma lokho engakutshelwa ke ukuthi umufi wadutshulwa ke kwakhe noma ke kibo emuva kwalokho wase ehanjiswa ke esiwa esibhedlele la abamchaza khona ke ukuthi eseshonile akazange atholeke ukulashwa khona esibhedlele.
And number 3 is according to the verbal information, it appears that the deceased was shot during an attempted armed robbery.
Ngalokho engakutshelwa ke kwabukeka ke ukuthi umufi ke wadutshulwa ke la ekwakuzanywa khona ke ukuthi kubanjwe inkunzi.
And then there were no special investigations that I needed to consider for my cause of death.
Kwakungekho ke okukhethekile ke noma uphenyo olukhethekile engangizolenza mayelake nokuthi ngithole imbangela yokushona kwakhe.
Thank you, Doctor. If I can then ask you to come back to page 2, paragraph Roman figure 5, the cause of death.
I gave a cause of death consistent with bullet wound of the chest involving the heart and lung.
Imbangela ke noma ke izathu sokushona kwakhe ke kwaba ukulimala ke noma ke inxeba ke elabangelwa yona ke inhlamvu esifubeni ihlanganisa ke inhliziyo kanye nesiphunga.
Doctor, do you confirm the correctness of your report and stand by it?
I do.
Yebo ke ngakho ke lokhu okubhaliwe ke la nokuthi kuyilona ke iqiniso lokhu engikubhalela kulo mbiko.
Doctor, just general aspects, if you go to page 6 of your report, number 2, say according to the history, the deceased was shot at his home. Following this, he was taken to a hospital where he was certified as dead. Are you able to give an indication of, given the clinical picture that you've just outlined, how long the deceased would have survived after the infliction of the wound?
Well, the heart and the lungs are important organs, and injury, especially this type of injury to those organs, can cause a fatality. Sometimes it's instantaneously. In this case, I do not think so because of the mechanism of death, which I explained as possibly the blood loss. And I think in this case, and he's quite a fit young man, he probably would have survived seconds, minutes, definitely not hours.
Lana ke uma sengishilo ke sengikhulumile ke ngendlela ke noma ke lokho okwaba imbangela ke noma ke isikhali esasetshenziswa ke uma ngangimbhekile ke kwakubonakala ke kuyinsizwa nje na ke eyondlekile ke efit futhi mhlambe ke wayengasababa ke ama minutes ama seconds kodwa hayi amahora nokuthi futhi ke isiphunga kanye nayo ke inhliziyo ukuthi ama organs abalulekile ke emzimbeni.
And you mentioned during your findings that there was blood loss and the destruction of the heart.
Yes.
Ngishilo ke ukuthi ke kwaku igazi ke walahlekelwa ke igazi kanye futhi ke nokumala kwakho inhliziyo.
Sorry, can I just recap? I didn't hear quite well. Blood loss, and there was an injury to the heart and the lung.
Yes.
Ukuthi ke walahlekelwa igazi ke kwakhona ke ukulimala enhliziyweni kanye nasesiphungeni futhi.
Now, Doctor, if I can ask you to turn to page 4 of the sketch there, indicating the wound track. You earlier on, just scroll down, yes, the wound track. You earlier commented that the wound is at an acute angle. What would you say the trajectory of the wound is?
It's down, back, and away from the midline.
Ukuhamba kwayo ke inhlavu lokho ukuthi kwakuhla ke kuya ngasemuva ke bese ke kushifta noma kuhamba kusuka kuyona ke imidline yomzimba.
Now, Doctor, are you able to venture an opinion as to what the position of the deceased was at the time when the wound was inflicted?
My Lord, when we do the autopsies, we usually describe the injuries as if the person is standing upwards.
Uma ke senza yona ke autopsy lena ke sichaza ke ukulimala lokhu ngokuthi ke umuntu lona ke umi ngeinyawo noma umile.
With his hands next to his sides, palms
izandla zakhe ke zila emaceleni,
palms facing forwards,
nokuthi ke zivuleke zibheke ngaphambili,
and the head looking straight ahead.
Kanye ke nekhanda ke libheke straight.
They call it the so-called anatomical position.
Bayibiza ngokuthi ke anatomical position.
In reality, we always know this is not so.
Empeleni ke into esibe siyazi ke ukuthi ke lokho akubi kanjalo ke.
People, when they are shot or assaulted, tend to move around or bend or do some movements during this.
Abantu ke behlaselwa ke beshaywa noma kwenziwa lokho ke ngesinye isikhathi omunye ke akamanga endaweni eyodwa omunye maybe mhlambe ke ubheke phansi ke noma ugobileke.
In this instance, I can, for instance, think, according to my autopsy findings, that if the weapon is held in a position like this, the deceased could have moved forwards.
Uma ke sengikwenza ke noma ngikwenza ke loliphenyo ke futhi ke nokuthi isibhamu sasikanjena ke ukuthi mhlambe ke umufike wa movela ngaphambili.
Moving forwards and bending down at the waist, slightly bending down at the waist.
Noma ukuthi ke egobela phansi ke.
If the accused was standing right in front of him.
Uma ukuthi ke umangalelwa ke wayimi phambi kwakhe.
Or he could have tried to push the firearm away from his body.
Noma ke mhlambe wayezama ke ukuthi isibhamu lesi ke asisuse ke asiphusheke ukuthi sisuke la kuyena emzimbeni.
Pulling it downwards in the downwards, backwards and a lateral position.
Esidonsela esidonsela enzansi.
Now, Doctor, if you can have a look at photo 15 of Exhibit D, photo 15.
15.
Yes, photo 15. Now, the evidence is that there was a struggle between the deceased and other occupants of the house and the attackers there in the kitchen. What would your comment be regarding the post-mortem findings?
Well, basically nothing, unless I take into consideration some of the notes and things that I see on the wooden door, which looks like a tube.
Ukuthi ke umshushisi yamchazela ke udokotela ukuthi ubufakazi buthi ke kwakukhona ke ukulisana phakathi kwakhe umufi kanye nabanye abantu ke ababekhona ke endlini kanye nalabo ke futhi babebahlasela uthi cha akukho ke engakusho ngaphandle kokuthi nje ngasebenzisa ke ama notes lana kanye futhi ke naloku engikubonayo ke kusona isicapha.
Yes, do you want to elaborate or do you want to stand by that comment?
No, the deceased could have stood anywhere unless I know where the bullet went. The bullet passed through the person, so if he was shot from the door side, the bullet would have gone the other way. If he was shot standing against the door, it would obviously have gone through the door.
Nalapho ke kufanele ngazi ke ukuthi wayeme kuphi ke nendawo umufi inkathi eshaywe yona ke inhlamvu ngoba ke yayingashaya ke inhlamvu ke ibuyeke uma ukuthi wayencike kusona ke isicapha yayingashaya ke ibe iphumela ngale kusona isicapha.
Now, Doctor, are you able to state as to how long it took for the bullet to perforate the, as you stated in your findings, to perforate the body of the deceased?
Now we're talking about seconds, milliseconds perhaps.
Asikhuluma lana ke ngamaninjana nje sikhuluma ke ngama seconds ukuthi yayingangena ke bisiyaphuma ke inhlamvu emzimbeni wakhe umufi.
I'm sure a ballistic officer can give you more detail on the speed of the firearm.
Nesiqiniseko sokuthi lona osebenza ngazo ibhamu lo noma ballistic kuyena ke ongakunikeza ke noma ongasho ke mayela naso ke isivini noma ispeed sayo inhlamvu isibhamu.
But I'm specifically referring to the bullet entering and passing through the body.
Kodwa mina ngikhuluma ngongena kwayo ke inhlamvu ibese ke iyadlula emzimbeni.
Now, during that process with the deceased have started bleeding when the bullet entered and left the body, as you've just described.
He would have started bleeding immediately. Once it injured the heart and the lung and the small artery, he would have started bleeding immediately.
Nkathi njena ke inhlamvu isishaya ke isilimaza inhliziyo isiphunga ke ukuthi ke ukuphuma ke noma ukopha kwakhe bekuzoqala ngaleso sikhathi leso.
As long as his heart was pumping, he was bleeding out away from the heart into the chest cavity.
Ukuthi nje uma bekuthi ibisi yayisashaya ke inhliziyo yakhe uma isiqala ke nje ukuthi igazi seliyaphuma ke belizophuma ke bese liyo ngena kuyona ke icavity leyo.
So if the mechanism of death was, as I suspect, that there was blood loss, he died of blood loss, the blood would have circulated from the left side of the heart, which was still pumping, down through the body, up onto the right side of the heart, and he would be bleeding from the right side of the heart.
Uma ukuthi ke walinyazwa ke noma ke imbangela yokushona ke ilena ke mina ke engicabangelayo noma engishoyo ke ukuthi ke wayizothi ke ukuphuma kwakhe noma ukopha kwakhe ke kuhleke kuyenzansi kuside la ku left lose ku side la ku right bese kuthi uma manje ke esopha ke kophela ku side la ku from east side la ku right.
And this would be landing into the chest cavity.
Bese ke lapho ke yasuka ke iyongena kule ndawo ebizwa ngokuthi ke iyona ke i-chest cavity.
Some blood can still leak out through the skin wounds.
Elinye igazi lise lingaphuma ke ngaso iskin liphumele ngaphandle.
It would not be like spouting like an arterial blood, for instance.
Ngeke kodwa ke indlela eliphuma ngayo ke lifane ke na uma igazi seliphuma ke ngesivinini ke esikhulu ke.
What would be the position? You say the blood will not be spouting out.
Squirting out, for instance.
Ngokuthi liphume nje ngokusheshsha kubona indlela eliphuma ngayo ngokusheshsha.
I'm talking from out to the outside of the body. Yeah.
Ngikhulumela ke ngokuphumela ngaphandle emzimbeni.
And just lastly, Doctor, you mentioned that you have taken a second for the bullet to enter and leave the body. When the deceased started bleeding internally, would the bullet still be in the body, or what would be the position? Milliseconds. As a court, please. Yes.
Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah, milliseconds to seconds. Yeah.
Yes. What would be the position regarding the bullet when the deceased started bleeding internally?
Then the bullet must have left the body already.
Uma ke eseqala ukuthi nje open noma liphumeke igazi kusho ukuthi ke ngaleso sikhathi ke inhlamvu bisiphumileke emzimbeni.
Thank you, my lord. Those are the only aspects we wanted to take up with the witness.
Okay. Yes, Mr.
My lord, I see it's almost 20 past 11. If we may take a short adjournment, my lord.
Okay, fine. 15 minutes adjournment.